G'day guys, you're back with MiracleMAX. Joining me for the repair today is Frankenstein and SJ, or half of SJ. There she is. Right, put it back where she belongs. We have a VE Commodore Series 1 2010 model, and it's got the check engine light on. They've had a previous mechanic look at it, and he's replaced some parts, thrown some parts at it. But what's wrong with it? I don't know. Let's check it out together.
Max the mechanic is the man who fix it all, yes he can. With a joke and a cheer, your car troubles disappear.
Okay, the rest of SJ's face has joined us. So what we're going to be doing right now is examining the actual fault of this fault code that we've found. To fill you in on a bit of a story of this, the guy has just bought the car and the guy that sold it to him was a mechanic, and he found a fault code, oxygen sensor fault code, and he went and replaced all the oxygen sensors. And guess what? Yep, the check engine light came straight back. So what's actually wrong with it? Let's hook up the scan tool and see. As mentioned, the guy that sold the customer the vehicle replaced the oxygen sensors. I got told that he replaced all 4 of them. He did 2, then he did another 2. Now if you have a close look here, you can see all the present ones. Notice what it says: bank 2, not present, which is bank 1 there. Let's scroll up a bit. Present, bank 2, and bank 2, and bank 2. All right, so what do we notice about that? Let's read it carefully. Now this guy has just gone ahead and said, oh, oxygen sensor, it needs to be replaced. But what's the actual fault? See what it says? Heater circuit malfunction. Heater circuit malfunction. All right, so there's no activity detected on bank 2 for this one here. And our range performance is faulty. What else have we got in the bank 2 range? Circuit high voltage, that's interesting. So everything relates to bank 2. And I'll show you another interesting thing. Let's go to the back of the vehicle. So this is the driver's side. Have a look at the exhaust there. Nice and clean, sort of, kinda, apart from the dirt. Let's go to the left side. And what do you notice? Oh, it's all dirty and sooty and full of stuff, isn't it? So that there is an indication of which bank 2 is. I'll show you another trick of bank 2. I see a lot of people on the net asking which is bank 1 and which is bank 2, which is fair enough. Best thing to do is pull off the engine cover, one that I've previously loosened. Stick that to one side. So here's the trick. Have a look at where the cylinder head is. Here's the cylinder head on the passenger side. And if we come across to that side, have a look where the cylinder head is over there in comparison to this one over here. Can you see the one that's further forward? That guy over there. That guy is bank number 1. This guy over here is bank number 2. Therefore, the oxygen sensor or sensors that we are looking for are down there. Okay, so that's one of the oxygen sensors. That'll be the pre-oxygen sensor. So what we need to do now is have a look at some live data on the scan tool. So now that we've determined which bank it's on, we need to figure out which oxygen sensor it is. So we know it's on the passenger side. If we have a look through here, we can see we've got a present code, bank 2. Yeah, we know about that. But it's sensor 1. That's our pre-oxygen sensor. And the trouble is that we've got a present one on bank 2, sensor 2. So that's our post sensor, so a pre and post. So it's all on the passenger side. Both oxygen sensors are playing up. But why? Let's have a look at a wiring diagram. So I've just gone into auto data and I've put in oxygen sensor. Now the only problem with this is that the oxygen sensor shown in here doesn't really tell you if it's a pre or a post or if it's bank 1 or bank 2. Either way, they're over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the interesting thing is that I've noticed these 2 guys over here have a single fuse. Now if that's bank 2, that would obviously explain why there is an issue with one bank compared to the other side. We'll just trace that back. In actual fact, we'll look at all the fuses, but for this particular one, we go up to, drum roll please, fuse number F33. Now, if we go back to the other 2, these guys here, they join together and they come up to fuse number 32. So F32 and F33. Now I've checked those fuses already and both are in good condition. They're clean, they've got continuity and they're fine going into the female receptacle in the fuse box. So we'll look at live data now, and here's our sensor 2 commands for the heater circuit, which is actually what we're looking at. We'll get Frankenstein to, oh hang on, there's bank 2, that's what we're after, bank 2. Go like that. Heater, bank 2, and we'll try those just for now. Show selected, and we'll just see what they do. We'll get Frankenstein to start up, please. So we're getting no percentage value coming on there, are we? There's no amperage being run through there. That's interesting. So what we might do is just, they should come on. So if we have a look at bank 1, they should be on. If you have a look here, you can see the percentage coming on. You can see 75% and 75% heater command. And obviously on the bank 1, it appears to be working. We cruise up to bank 2, we've got no heater percentage whatsoever, have we? Bank 2, heater 1, bank 2, heater 2, 0, 0. Who knows, we might have a wiring problem, or we might have an ECU driver issue. So we'll look into that a little bit further. Over here as well, notice that we've got current being drawn on bank 1's heater 1 and bank 1 heater 2. We've got current being drawn there, and there's no current on sensor 1 and 2 on bank 2, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so clearly you can see the difference between these guys here. Let me show you. Right, so there's bank 1, heater 1 and heater 2. They're clearly drawing some current. And over here, bank 2, heater 1 and heater 2, no current being drawn whatsoever. So that wasn't a hard test, and we haven't had to replace an oxygen sensor as yet. Let's delve a little deeper and figure out what's going on. For the sake of the exercise, I'm on bank 1, just to show you guys what a good oxygen sensor and circuit should look like. So here is the oxygen sensor itself. You can see he goes down right down there, and I've gone into the heater circuit. How do I know which is the heater circuit? Let's have a look and see what the wires are. There's two white ones, there's a grey one, and there's a black one. So the ones that are too white, too black, whatever they are the heater circuit. I've back probed it into there, gone into my multimeter, and hey presto, I've got 10.2 ohms. That's an indicator that the heater itself in the oxygen sensor is okay. Now I'm not concerned about the oxygen sensor itself at the moment because it's a heater circuit fault. So this is a good side. And another test that we can do is to see if the ECU is directing or driving that heater, and that will do it via pulse width modulation. So I'm just going to hook up a globe to that now, and we should, or in the ECU side of things, that's this connector over here, and we're going to hook up a globe there, and we should end up with some sort of flashing or pulsing or a long time on, then it'll gently go off, one or the other. So I'll just hook that up. That'll give you an indication of what it should look like. Then we'll go over to bank 2 and see what that guy over there is doing. So next I'm going to hook up a globe to see what the ECU is pumping out, making sure that we get some sort of flashing or some sort of pulsation of the globe itself. That will tell me that the drivers within the ECU are okay. Hang on a sec, Max. You shouldn't use a globe because it's going to blow up the ECU. Well, not so much. Let me show you. We need Ohm's law. Ohm's law is voltage is equal to current. I write current by amps. I write it the way that the multimeter says it, and that is times by resistance. Okay. Now we know the voltage of the vehicle, pretty much around about 12 volts. And we also know what the resistance was. Now that was, if I remember rightly, about 10.7, I believe. And therefore, the current that will be flowing through that circuit to the heater will be about 1.1 amps, which is fine. So all I've got to do, if I use my globes, I've actually listed what these globes are. As you can see here, that guy there is 0.42 of an amp. And if I put the two together, we've got 2.1 amps, upside down of course, and this guy here by himself is 1.7 amps. So I'm quite safe to use this guy here together with my earth lead here. That will bring on a globe. It will be enough to stress out the system, but also it won't do damage to the driver in the ECU. Okay, so as mentioned, here's my oxygen sensor connector. That guy there goes back to the ECU. Now I was just about to hook up that globe that I showed you, and I started putting in a connector like this guy here. I was just going to hook that in there, and if you have a really close look, have a look, the two terminals I believe are these two here. Okay, now if you look at the lower one, I'll just zoom in a bit there for you. This is the good side, remember? Now one of those terminals is actually snuck back in the connector. It's, where's my fat finger? Right there. That guy there has gone back into the connector. These guys are still stuck up proud, as they should be, but this guy's actually slid backwards. So is that an indication of what the bank 2 will be like? This is the good side, remember? So we'll sort this out and make sure that it's okay before we head over to bank 2. I've got my light hooked up here. Now, as I mentioned, I'm just running, 0.42 of an amp through my globe here, so that's fine. It's not going to damage anything. I've gone into my oxygen sensor wiring from the ECU, so that's our heater circuit. So as I mentioned, this should come on or flash or do something along those lines as an indication that the drivers and the wiring going to the oxygen sensor heater circuit is in good condition. Let's crank it up and see what happens. See that pulsing for a sec? There we go, look at that, eh? So that's, remember that duty cycle that we mentioned before? It was like 75% or something. Right hand side is doing what he's meant to do. Let's head over to the left hand side, or bank 2, and see what that's up to. All right, so just mirroring the tests that we did on the other side, we're now in the heater circuit. You can see the two white wires there, and I've got a good connection in here. Let's have a look at what our multimeter says. And drum roll, please. What the hell? Where's my 10.7 ohms? Now, this is strange because we've double checked all our work, and I've actually used just a random oxygen sensor that I had floating around to make sure that my connections were all okay and that I wasn't doing anything wrong. And yes, this here is an open circuit with its heater. Like seriously, this guy was meant to have replaced it already. So where did he get his oxygen sensors from? eBay? I don't know. So this is a dead oxygen sensor. But Frankenstein, tell me, what's the other test that we need to do now? One more test.
The globe test.
The globe test. Yes, let's do that. Okay, Frankenstein, we've just discussed the next test that we're going to do, and it's the globe test. So what's the purpose of the globe that's in your hand?
Well, that's to test whether the ECU is actually working and pulsing correctly.
Right, okay, so it's just like a normal globe. We're going to have power coming in one side, and on the negative side, the ECU, by means of drivers, they pulse it off and on. So just like the right-hand side, we should see that pulsing on the left-hand side. If everything is working okay, we should see a pulsation of that globe. Frankenstein, hit the key, please.
Woohoo!
And what do you notice, people? It's pulsing. The ECU is okay, the wiring is okay. What's the fault?
The oxygen sensor.
Excellent, well done. He can be taught, folks. All right, so that's bank 2, sensor 1. We now need to raise the vehicle and find out what bank 2, sensor 2 is doing, because that's faulty as well. Okay, now we're going on a max adventure here, guys. We're going to slide up under the vehicle and have a look at sensor number 2. Now this guy is our post sensor, and it looks all nice and shiny. Yes, apparently it's been replaced. But let's just slide up here. Can you see what I see? I might zoom in for you with a bit more lightage there. Where's my zoom button? There he is. Can you see that? It's not clipped in all the way. All right, let's go across to the other one to prove my concept here. This is bank 1. You can clearly see that the weather shield or the weather seal is not obvious. I can't see that dark blue line there. Over this side, however, you can clearly see that it's not clipped in. Let's just give that, oh goodness me, I just touched it with my thumb and it fell off. Okay, so what's the issue? Oh my goodness me, I just found another fault. Sorry. See this little terminal here, this female terminal in the oxygen sensor itself is pushed all the way backwards. Oh, goodness me. Seriously, this is an absolute joke. So what I'm going to do is my rinse and repeat method. I'm going to check and make sure that inside the ECU, sorry, you guys can't see it too well, inside the ECU we'll do the globe test and make sure that that is working properly. But I don't know where he got these from, but yeah, the terminal's just slid all the way backwards. Hello, and what colour is it? It's white. And what is white? Well, that's our heater circuit. It's literally gone all the way back into the socket. Oh, happy days. Okay, we're going to carry out the globe test on that Bank 2 Sensor 2 heater circuit to make sure that that ECU is okay and the wiring going to it is okay. Frank and Swine, hit the key. There you go, there's our pulsing. Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, what do we need? I'm going to recommend the customer that he gets 2 decent quality oxygen sensors. So certainly not a sponsor, but I'll be using the Goss brand this particular time, and it looks like it's an OX440. Now it's the same for the pre and the post, they're identical oxygen sensors. So time to put them in. I've just gone ahead and replaced the rear O2 sensor, the post one, and as you can see it's pretty black, isn't it? But more importantly, have a look at the connector here. You can see that this guy here has pulled right all the way back into the connector housing, the female terminal there. It's pulled all the way back into the housing. So yeah, that's pretty dodgy. Anyway, that's been replaced with a new sensor, and I'm putting a new one on the front as well. Okay, with those new oxygen sensors in place, we're now going to start it up. You can see on my live data list, I have Bank 2 heater command and also Sensor 1 heater command, just to compare the two, apples for apples. We should see some sort of duty cycle to command the heater circuit on, and we should see current going through all of the circuits as we did before in the Bank 1 side. So we'll start him up and see what happens. And let's have a look. What do we have? Well, we have Bank 1. Obviously we've got some current. Bank 2, we've got current now that they're all connected and they're not broken, of course. So we've got, and also we've got our duty cycle happening here, and that's working correctly, and it's commanded on. Okay, so now we're going to do a post-test report and see what sort of faults we have. Let's do a full system scan. So let's do a report on that one. Hopefully we should get a clear indication of a pre-scan, and there should be a post-scan with no faults attached to it. Post-scan, no faults attached. So that's good news. Most important thing, of course, is to go for a decent road test and have a look at some live data as we go along.
There's 25 swings on. It's 11.
Bank 1 or just Sensor 1?
Bank 1 and Bank 2 is very similar to Bank 1.
Oh, that's unusual because they should be, you'd imagine that the fuel trims on Bank...
That's long-term trim.
Yeah. What's short term?
Short-term is hovering around the 0.
Oh, okay, good. Yep. And what about Bank 2?
Around
Probably about the same
about
now.
the same.
Yeah. What's our oxygen sensors doing there, Frankenstein? Are they just going up and down at a medium pace?
Varying between 0 and
0.8
70 to 700. Yeah, all around the same. Except Bank Sensor 1 is a lot lower than the rest of them.
Okay, well that's a little bit interesting. If we give it a bit of time, Bank 1 or the Sensor 1 on Bank 1 and 2 should vary somewhere between 0.2 to 0.8 volts or 200 millivolts to 800 millivolts. It should be a fluctuation about 1 hertz or 1 time a second, whereas the back ones should be basically fairly low, or I mean middle range, sorry, somewhere between round about the 500 millivolts, and that should stay steady. Our fuel trims, as mentioned, should be fairly low, and what do we got there?
Bank 1 Sensor 2 is a level line all the way through.
Yeah, but what's the fuel trims?
Fuel trims, minus 12 to minus 7.
Yep.
That's 1 and 2, short term, long terms, minus 7, minus 18, minus 20.
Oh, that's pretty high. Is that short term or long term?
Long terms.
Wow, that's high. That's interesting. Okay, this is another day, next day on. I wasn't happy with those results that we got from live data during our road test. And sure enough, we come back, we were looking at the right-hand rear sensor, the live data, and it didn't look good to me. And sure enough, we've come back the next day and we've got codes with regard to bank 1 sensor 2, which is exactly the sensor that we thought that was dodgy. But also this guy over here is saying bank 2 is running too rich. Now, what I've suggested to the customer, and we're going to go ahead and do, is replace all 4 sensors. I've done 2 so far. I'm going to do the other 2 with the same brand, just so there's continuity across the board. Then that way we've got a good starting point. I've had a good chat with the customer, and he realises too that this might be a starting point, because these, obviously the guy replaced the sensors originally for a reason, and we're replacing reasonable quality sensors for dodgy ones. So it'd be interesting to see what this back sensor is like. It's all running rich, so we need to get to the root cause of the running rich situation before we can just call it a win. So we'll chuck in bank 1 sensors now and see how we go with another road test. So this is after oxygen sensor replacement, the second lot. So all 4 are of the same brand and they've been installed correctly. If you have a look at your short-term trim, you can see plus or minus whatever over here, and that should be plus or minus 10%. So I'm happy with the short-term type of things, but the long-term still appears to be reading a little bit high in my opinion. It should be roughly plus or minus 10%. I've checked the catalytic converters to make sure that they're all right. They appear to be working fine, and our oxygen sensors are doing their little dance that they're meant to do. You can see our oxygen sensors, even at idle, are oscillating about 1 time a second, which is perfect. Our rear ones should be at a flat line basically, and that's exactly how they should be. So I'm happy that the oxygen sensors are doing their job. So what we'll do is we're just going to accelerate hard, and what we should end up with is these guys here, the rear ones, should go up high, and these guys here should enrichen as well, so they should go high as well. When we decel, they should all flatline down or drop down here, and then what we'll do is we'll stop it and we'll have a look at that little video clip that we've done. There they go. And now that should start to oscillate again, just as we had. If I had lines I could show you, but there's a difference between here where it jumps and between here where it jumps as well. So there's what's called oxygen saturation of the catalytic converter. So I believe that they're working okay as well. And we're just going to see what our fuel trims are doing. Look here, long-term fuel trim, minus 10, minus 6, perfect. 2 and 3 or whatever, minus or plus, something along those lines. I still feel that it's fractionally over-fueled because we're not seeing this change between the positive and the negative, but that's okay. It is making adjustments, but that's sitting there, that's sweet as, isn't it? We're down to minus 9 now. So I think a road test is the only option to get an accurate diagnosis of what's happening. Short terms are plus or minus 10.
Oh yeah, well within that.
Okay, what's our long term? Plus or minus? So they're minus, aren't they?
Yeah. Looking anywhere from 4 to 7 below.
Oh, really? Wow.
-4 at the moment.
Actually, that's really good. That's really good. So have we got the oxygen sensors still there? So they should be going up and down, up and down, and the other ones should be dead flat.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't say dead flat, but they're
Oh, well, yeah. They're going to have a slight variation until I do this. They should all go up. And now they should go down in a sec.
Yeah, they went up to 50, now they're all down.
Perfect, look at that, eh? That's good. That's very good.
It gives a different reading on the road under load.
Yeah, absolutely, yep. I'll just have to speak to the customer and make sure that perhaps it's maintained properly. Apparently the spark plugs have been done, but you know, we don't know for air filter, fuel filter, the list goes on and on. But for now, I'm happy with those results now that we've done all 4 oxygen sensors that in theory were brand new and had been replaced. Okay, after a completed road test, I'm fairly happy with the results. There may be other issues that need to be addressed at some point in time. But for now, our oxygen sensors are working correctly, both the pre and the post, as well as fuel trims are within specs anyway. So, Frank, what's the moral of the story?
Don't buy crap parts.
Yeah, well, that's right. And now that he's got 4 of the same oxygen sensor, we'll keep an eye on it, we'll monitor it, and we'll get him to report back to us if he has any other issues. So I hope you got something from the video today, guys, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, feel free to comment down below. Don't forget about that notification bell. You don't want to miss any future videos. So until, oh, hey, don't forget about Facebook or Instagram. You can catch up with us on those platforms to see what we're up to in the workshop. So until next time, guys, this is MiracleMAX and Frankenswine. We will catch you later.
Ciao.